So just to look like a smarty pants,
Please.
there's a philosopher who was philosophizing around the time absinthe was made illegal in the United States.
Fun.
Named Josiah Royce, if I'm getting his name right. He felt as though, for a lot of the same reasons you're talking about, he said that loyalty was the prime virtue.
Oh.
It's the main virtue. And I was like going, and I kind of took
Sounds like a guy who wants to start a cult.
Absolutely, that's exactly
what
what
it
I was
sounds like.
thinking too.
Oh, really?
A cult or like a mafia boss.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Drunk Ethics. If you would like to earn behavioral ethics CPE for listening to this podcast, there is now a premium course available for purchase on the Earmark app. Just go to earmarkcpe.com or download the Earmark app from the App Store or from the Google Play Store. And now raise your glass to this episode of Drunk Ethics.
Zero shots in.
Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody is going to know whether you did it or not.
A life lived with integrity, even if it lacks the trappings of fame and fortune, is a shining star in whose light others may follow in the years to come.
You're screwing off so hard right at the beginning
This is
that
just
people
a very
might
cheesy-
think that you're drunk.
Oh, yeah.
already.
It's just a
But that's
very
okay.
cheesy quote.
It
to
is. They
begin with,
both
yeah.
are. They both are.
My
They're
favorite
super-
part is even if it lacks the fame and fortune, as if, well, I have integrity, therefore I should be rich, right?
You know why I'm a good person? The dollar bills.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to Drunk Ethics. I'm Greg Kite. I'm a licensed CPA in the state of Utah.
And I'm Adam Proud. I have a master's in business administration from Brigham Young University.
Drunk Ethics is the only certified course where the presenter, me and you, get more and more drunk while we discuss the intricacies of behavioral ethics.
And today's episode is loyalty, stories, Jägermeister, and absinthe.
We are going to take 7 shots during the course of this 1-hour podcast, and there's no time like the present. What are you going to start off with?
I'll start with the absinthe.
With the
Let's
absinthe?
do this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so terrified.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Cheers on this one.
Yeah.
So, ding. Oh, it's like licorice mouthwash.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like black licorice.
Like the black licorice, like the worst, like your worst nightmare of your grandpa's mouthwash just came true to you.
Like a black licorice with a vendetta. Like it's going to try to murder you a little bit.
Exactly.
It's not bad, though.
Yep.
All right. We also have another person in the studio with today. She is a baller. She is a shot caller. She has 20-inch blades on her Impala. Well, at minimum, she's a shot caller. It's your daughter,
My
Greg.
daughter.
Kylie Kite.
Kylie
Hey,
Kite.
what's up? When she rings the bell, we have to take another shot.
And for today's podcast, if you didn't get it from the title of today's podcast, we are drinking Jägermeister and Absinthe Ordinaire, both of which I am going to say are objectively disgusting.
Vile.
And funny thing, we talked about it real quick. You asked if absinthe is a mild hallucinogen.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know about absinthe.
And that's the rumor. I don't think that it necessarily is. But what I do know is that wasn't it the 18th Amendment was prohibition? I believe it was the 18th Amendment.
I don't know which one.
Was prohibition. That it was enacted in 1918, if I've got my history correct. Absinthe, however, was made illegal in the United States in 1912 before prohibition.
Oh.
Because I think people thought because apparently it was believed to be a hallucinogen. So
I was actually the only other thing I knew about it. Well, I thought for some reason that it was potentially still illegal, which would have been that much more fun if we were drinking.
Well, other fun fact. So it was illegal in the United States from 1912 until 2007. So it's only been
so it has
15 years. It's only been back on the market here in the United States for it's been unethical to or at least illegal to have it in the United States.
Just illegal. Laws do not dictate our morality.
That is absolutely correct.
You know what I know about absinthe?
What's that?
Is that it's not a sponsor.
No.
It's not a sponsor today. Nothing has sponsored us. Just want to point that out.
Yeah. And neither is Jägermeister.
No.
So on today's episode, we're gonna start off by talking about loyalty how loyalty affects one's ethics. So first off, Adam, do you consider yourself to be a loyal person? Are you loyal?
Yes, absolutely. I think I have a strong sense of loyalty to individuals, at least.
Okay.
Towards corporations, less so.
Okay.
Towards individuals, absolutely.
Right.
That's what would get me in trouble. If I land in jail, it's because of my loyalty to
your
human.
loyalties.
Potentially.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, which is kind of
Don't use that against me, please.
Well, I'm gonna, because that's kind of where we're headed in today's podcast. Is exactly what you were just talking about. And funny thing for me, I would not say that I'm a particularly loyal person. I mean,
really?
Yeah. Well, first off, I am divorced, so that maybe is as my daughter pretends to not feel awkward by that. But yeah, so I mean that right there.
Yeah, you're divorced.
Like,
you have 2 kids.
I've got 2 kids now.
Couldn't even stick with the first one. Had to find another kid.
Right, I was not loyal to my first child. Okay, here's a funny story with her right here. The reason I only have 2 is because my daughter she's so social, and even as a small child she was so social that she, like, when she was interacting with you, she wanted it to be like we are having quality time all day long. And so when her brother was born, I'm like, honey, this is chopping your quality time like 50%. You're getting cut, and I didn't feel like I could give her more quality time wage reductions.
Yeah, instant friend.
So, oh no, because she wasn't getting more quality time from her brother. Her brother's like, when he was a kid, he would stay in bed until we went into his room and invited him to come out of his bed. He could be in there awake for hours. So he wasn't. No. He's not a particularly social guy. Anyways, but yeah, but also I would say, I mean, I'm not disloyal to people. I don't.
Okay.
I
don't go out of your way.
I don't go out of my way to be disloyal, but I wouldn't say that loyal. If I was describing my character to someone else, I probably probably wouldn't go in there.
Tell you who I'm a little less loyal to, knowing all that.
Well, but
tell you what.
But so here's the next thing though. Do you think loyalty is a component of being a good person? Is it a virtue? Is loyalty a virtue?
I think it is to a certain point.
Okay.
It is to a certain point because this feels like a pretty strong extreme, but my brain immediately went to like the Manson murders, where like those women on they're like, well, this guy told me and I'm just loyal. It's not as if we all stood and applauded and we're like, good for you.
Sure.
Like there's a limit to the loyalty for sure.
Yeah.
That has to be balanced out by like other virtues and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I think generally speaking, if someone was like, oh, I'm actively disloyal, what I do is I befriend people. I bring them in really close enough that I can stab them. And then guess what I do?
Stab them in the back.
Ooh, I stab immediately. First go. At that point, I'd be like, oh, feels like a bad person.
Right. So again, I'm feeling less and less confident in just throwing it out there that I don't consider myself a particularly loyal person.
Well, it's not that you're disloyal, though.
Right.
But there's a certain amount of loyalty.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, exactly.
Because loyalty builds community, and I think that's part of why I have it. I think there's like this notion in America that we too often are like, you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, you do it all yourself. No one succeeds that way. Spoiler alert, you need everybody around you to help you out. Everyone always has. And if you're one of those people who's like, I'm a self-made individual, really just means that you're kind of ungrateful, right? Like you need other people, so there has to be a certain level of loyalty somewhere. It's just to what extent.
Right, exactly. So just to look like a smarty pants,
please.
There's a philosopher who was philosophizing around the time absinthe was made illegal in the United States. Named Josiah Royce, if I'm getting his name right. He felt as though, for a lot of the same reasons you're talking about, he said that loyalty was the prime virtue.
Oh,
it's the main virtue. I was like going, and I kind of took.
Sounds like a guy who wants to start a cult.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was thinking too. A cult or like a mafia boss.
Yeah, actually, if you just swear to me, that's the best thing you can do.
Now that you're in the family, I just want you to know that the ultimate virtue is loyalty. Yeah. So now go murder my foes.
Feels like you got some strong ulterior motives. Right. When that's your ultimate.
Right. But when you dig into his philosophy, his reasoning is exactly what you just said.
Well,
where it's like,
I'm also starting a cult, so it's like, I get it.
Right.
Me and old Josiah.
And I'm in. Name? I'm your first apostle.
Wonderful.
But yeah, his whole thing was, society's built on trust. Trust depends on loyalty.
Okay.
And if we are going to have everyone on the planet, if you really get down to like what's the
There we go.
there it is.
Mm-hmm.
That absinthe is just it doesn't get better on the second shot. But yeah, his whole thing was if you ask somebody what the perfect society was, it would be just a loving, caring society where everyone's accepted, and part of that, and his whole thing was you can't have that without loyalty. So
he took like what is it, Aristotle's like social contract or whatever, something like that, and he just like ran with it.
I don't know Aristotle's social contract.
I could
Tell
be
me more
completely
about
wrong about this, so
Okay.
someone's going to correct me.
Good.
Basically, just meaning we all write a social contract.
Oh.
And that's like what society adheres to, is this understanding that we're going to operate by like certain rules.
Okay.
And when people like break certain social contracts, I think the rule becomes that's when like people riot, but maybe that's a different philosopher at that point. But whatever. Point being, we all have like a subset of rules that we adhere to, and that's what makes society work, whether they're said out loud or not. And it sounds like he took that and he's like, well, that's the end all be all.
Right. Well, yeah, or at least the foundation.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, and again, we're talking about I spent 12 minutes on Wikipedia digging into Josiah Royce. So
Nice.
that's it. But here's the flip side stuff, and I think this is where you were getting at too before. Is it's like let's say you were building a Tinder profile and you were and it's like, hey guys, I'm a foodie, I'm outdoorsy, and I'm disloyal.
Why do I sound like this on Tinder?
It's how everyone sounds on Tinder. So if you did that, if you said, if that was one of the ways you describe yourself as disloyal
on Tinder?
on Tinder,
Oh.
chances are you'd be getting a lot of left swipes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potential one night stands, but a lot of left swipes for sure.
I think you would, it'd be a red flag. I mean, in terms of evaluating someone for a long-term relationship, disloyalty is probably a disqualifier
Sure.
for that. And now you're not, so you're in marketing, not so much HR. Did you do some stuff in HR at
I
one
did.
point?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
worked in HR for a while.
awesome. So if you ask someone, you're hiring someone, you're in the interview,
Yes.
and you say, "What's your biggest weakness?" and they were like, "I'm disloyal as a motherfucker." what would you be like? Okay, and please put the rest of the donut down and show yourself out.
Oh, the comedian side of me would immediately come out and be like, "Tell me more about you. You're no longer an applicant, but you are a case study for sure." Like, I would be fascinated by that individual.
Right. But so loyalty is generally seen, and I see this too. It's generally seen as a virtue. That's why I'm feeling somewhat self-conscious that I wouldn't describe myself that way. Disloyalty, I think I can say unequivocally that disloyalty is a vice. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, someone actively trying to work against people who have helped them in some way feels weird.
Yeah.
Feels weird for sure.
Yeah. Or just that you're
feels like some of my exes, am I right?
It seems like
true.
you can't.
They're all wonderful people.
I think disloyal is also like I'm untrustworthy. I think that isn't that part of what is being communicated?
Yeah, how do you trust someone if they're it's weird for anyone to center their whole personality on any sort of like negative part, right? Where they're like, I'm a liar. Like everybody's a liar, but then be like, that's an identifying part of me. It would be that much more strange.
Yeah.
But a fascinating case study of an individual once again.
So to wrap back around to Aristotle, where you got us to, so Aristotle wrote a book called, how do you say it? Nicomachean Ethics.
Bestseller.
Big time. Before the Gutenberg press, you just couldn't keep them in the scroll stores.
Yeah.
So in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, that's where we get the concept of virtue ethics. How familiar are you with the concept of virtue ethics?
Not explicitly by that name, at least.
Okay, well,
dig into it.
Okay, so this is where I hate going in other behavioral ethics CPEs is when people go, well, when you really look at ethics and you look at virtue ethics versus other types of utilitarianism. Do you know utilitarianism?
Yeah.
The greatest good for the greatest number.
That's how you.
And it has its flaws. Virtue ethics is another construct like that, where it basically says it doesn't matter what you do is not the focus of virtue ethics. It's who you are is the focus of virtue ethics.
But who you are is not what you do?
Well, what you do is a consequence of who you are.
Oh, okay.
So if you're focusing on being the type of person that you're going to be, then your actions will reflect the quality of person that you are.
Are you starting to feel it just a little bit?
That was a very absinthe.
I'm starting to feel it already. This is the fastest I've ever felt.
Is it? This is going to be a rough. This is going to be a rough podcast, and my daughter's here to witness it all. The humiliation is extreme. Here's another thing. I'm loyal as a motherfucker to my kids, though. You can't shake the loyalty that I have to these kids. I'm going to be crying by the end of this podcast because my daughter's here
that's
today.
where we swap. I've never been divorced, but as soon as I go to the park, I treat it like just an exchange program. I'm like, here's this kid. I'll give me yours for a week. You have mine. It's whatever.
Yeah. Oh, these kids, man, I'm till the ride or die to the grave. I don't know if that's how they feel about me. but yeah, they don't get another dad. So here's where Aristotle's virtue ethics, where they go to, is that one of the fascinating things about virtue ethics is that it talks about any virtue as being a mean between two extremes, and each of the extremes is a vice. The most common example of this is courage.
Okay.
Where you go, courage is there's like the
virtue.
That's the virtue.
Okay.
And courage is because you go, what's the vice related to courage? What would
cowardice is the first one that comes to mind.
Cowardice, absolutely. And so
oh my gosh.
She is very enthusiastic with that bell.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have gotten her a cowbell for that. So what?
Cowardice is the first one that comes to mind.
Exactly, and that's right. So basically, courage is the mean. If you don't have enough courage, you're a coward. That's a vice. Being a coward is a vice. If you have too much courage or whatever that is, then you end up just being a foolhardy jackass who's, then you're out like picking fights with strangers at bars for no reason because it's like I don't care. And so courage, he would say that's the mean between these two extremes. You don't want to go to either of those extremes.
Interesting. And so you want to hit the middle.
Right. And then an example that I've got here on our cheat sheet,
yes,
as a couple of stand-up comedians, I think this hits more close to home. And this is one that he actually lists in the Nicomachean Ethics.
Oh, that's fun.
Is wittiness.
Wittiness
is like a sense of humor. You want to have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
But you can go too far either way, where you're a buffoon, where you're just out being
just clowning around,
to the extreme where everybody's like this guy. I don't want to be.
I would love someone to describe me as a buffoon at some point, like that. At that point, they hated me so much they searched their dictionary to insult me, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. Right. To get under someone's skin that bad, that's pretty neat.
Exactly.
But I'd prefer someone calling me witty. I'd prefer being called witty.
He was a buffoon.
What an outright buffoon!
I feel like
a comedian. I would be like, this is a great moment in my life. Still,
I feel like if someone called you a buffoon or called me a buffoon, they'd have to smack me across the cheek with a gauntlet as well.
Yeah.
Take off their glove. Do you
sir, bite your thumb at me, sir?
I do bite my thumb at you. I just watched that last night.
Oh, really?
The Leonardo DiCaprio one.
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio.
So if a good sense of humor, wittiness is what Aristotle calls it. If that's the mean, buffoonery is you've got too much of it, and just boorishness, just like being not having any sense of humor is the opposite. So again, it's like you want to have this mean. I believe the same thing is true with loyalty.
Okay.
Loyalty is this. You got to have this mean of loyalty where you're not so loyal that you're gonna end up in jail for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you also don't want to be disloyal because that's obviously a crappy. You're a bad person.
Feels weird to have the vice be labeled as disloyalty though, because the descriptor is. It's not the virtue.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is stab in the backiness, I guess is what we're going for instead.
Throwy under the bussiness. Yeah, that's it.
That's fun.
So then we get, let's wrap this back around to CPAs and to accountants, like why we do these professional ethics at all. We're supposed to call up lying and stealing.
Yeah.
That's what we do. When
Yes.
we review financial statements, we're supposed to say, oh, something bad's going on. If we see something bad going on there,
Yeah.
we got to call that out.
I feel like you can't be loyal almost at all.
Right. So
as an accountant. If I've learned anything from drunk ethics in these last 3, it is
Right.
2 shots is enough, and just second to that is that accountants need to be narcs.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
that right?
We're financial narcs is exactly
Hire me
what
as an
we're-
accountant.
We've
I'm
got
halfway there.
There you just
I can barely do basic math, but other than that,
But
I'm halfway there.
your ethics are spot on as a narc is what it is because
Perfect.
we are, and that's and we talked about in another podcast, we talk about independence.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing too. What loyalty versus independence well, I mean, maybe that's it. We were talking about what's the what do you
interesting.
call
Yeah,
it
yeah.
instead of disloyal? Is it independent?
Too far on the side of independence.
But that's the thing. As an accountant, you can't get too far. You're supposed to be
Yeah.
independent. Period.
Yeah.
So is it a virtue or is it not a virtue to be loyal? How loyal are to your customers? You talk about that in business a lot, where it's like, I want my customers to be loyal to me. That means I need to be loyal to my customer.
Yeah.
But we're not supposed to be. We're supposed to be independent. We're supposed to narc them out if their books are shitty.
I just don't want you guys to be lonely and sad, and it feels like it's headed that way.
Come on. That's when someone's writing a movie and they need a character who's lonely and sad. What occupation do they give them?
It's accountant or HR, and I got out of HR for a reason.
No, it's never HR. Those guys are giving hugs all day long.
No way.
Yeah, well, I mean,
No way.
they're giving hugs and letting you cry on their shoulder while you pack your desk.
Oh, but everybody hates them so much.
But no, but
Actually, they're the reverse of loyalty, right? Because HR is always the people who are like, no, we value the employees, but we all really know that they're like, how does this work well for the company?
Right. So
it is the opposite of accounting, if anything.
But I'd say if you're looking for someone who's lonely and isolated,
Yes.
you cast them as an accountant or as a librarian. Those are kind of your two choices.
Pretty fair.
Your two choices in a movie. So yeah, so we're supposed to be independent like that. And here's the thing. If you're loyal, because we talked about throwing people under the boat, I also say if you're loyal,
Throw them right under that boat.
If you're, did I say boat?
You sure did.
Awesome. If
drown them and then run them over with a boat. That's as disloyal as it comes.
If that propeller's on, man.
You're so not loyal, you couldn't even use the common turn of phrase. You had to go further than that and throw them under a whole goddamn boat. That's crazy.
Well, here's the reason why. Because my notes say if you're loyal, you don't rock the boat.
Oh, there we go. That
you
makes
don't
sense.
rock the boat.
Okay.
If you're loyal.
That's true. Yeah. Which I mean, we've all met people like that, I feel like, who are at like a company, and when everybody's complaining, if they walk in the room, you're like, but actually it's a good thing. None of us got raises this year, and I'm kind of glad for it, you know,
Right.
just because you know that person's going to be like, what? How could you say that?
Right.
How could you say that about this company, right?
Yeah. Well, and even like very topical right now, there are workers at Amazon who are trying to organize a union.
Oh, yeah.
And if you organize a union, you're rocking the boat. And
Sure.
organizing the union, you are being painted because, I mean, are you being loyal to your company if you're organizing a union?
Loyal to your fellow man.
Loyal to your coworkers, maybe.
Yeah.
But not to the company.
Maybe I could see it painted both ways.
I could.
Because it depends. Because unions can help companies in a lot of ways as well. Depends on how you want to define.
That sounds like a bleeding heart liberal to me, is what that sounds like. But
there's a few people who are listening to us who just like shut off real quick.
Yeah,
They're like, no,
they're
no
like,
one should hear this.
I don't need a behavioral ethics credit this bad.
Yeah.
Kylie, is that 4? That's a lot. It's still okay.
The fastest I've ever felt in alcohol.
A couple of things. Adam, a couple of things. First off,
yeah, number 1, hit me.
and now I've forgotten. First off, last time,
Yes.
how bad did you get drunk last time?
I got too drunk last time.
What happened
I'll be
last
honest.
time to you?
Okay, I already told Greg this, but I wanted to tell the listeners because you should know we record this at like 10:30 a.m. It's a horrible decision to
Really,
get that drunk by
this early.
11:30 a.m.
Yeah.
for sure. And then I go home to my 2 kids, and the way my wife has agreed to this is she's like, "Okay, but as soon as you walk through that door, you're a full functioning adult," which I'm like, I'll give it my best shot. And we went to the park when I came home last time, and I fell asleep like immediately while we were all at the park.
At the park.
And my wife didn't even bother waking me up. So I woke up 2 hours later in a public park, sunburned, drunk, and I was like, this is a real low moment. If this is such a cliche of a character in a movie, like if someone wrote this in a movie, they'd be like, people don't actually do this though, and people would be like, Adam Brown unfortunately
I know one
graduate
guy
of
who
Brigham
did
Young
do
University.
That. Yeah, great story. Too
drunk.
So if you're loyal, you don't rock the boat, but our CPA is supposed to rock the boat. Easy question. That's a layup.
Yeah.
Even 4 shots at
you rock that boat.
Yeah, we're supposed. Listen, listener, you're supposed to rock the damn boat. So rock that boat. Here's the thing. Personal story of mine. My old boss. So I'm a CPA. I spent 1 year at a CPA firm. I got hired away by the company that I still work for. The guy who hired me away from the CPA firm, he stole $605,000 from the company.
$605,000?
We were able to get a large portion of that back. I think what we actually had to write off, plus accrued interest. When you had accrued interest on that, it was like $780,000, something like that.
My goodness.
So yeah.
What a talented man.
So he
in the wrong area.
But this guy, he talked about loyalty all the damn time.
Well, of course he did.
It was like
mentioned Colts. He was trying to do one in the company.
Yeah, he was like, "Do you have my back or do you not have my back?" It was like, well, but I have to make sure that the stakeholders know what I'm seeing that you're doing because
there should have been a few people who were just like, I've got your back, but to what amount?
And now to make it clear, because there's going to be a lot of accountants who are like, he stole $605,000 and you didn't just throw him in jail. Here's
that's a good point.
He through the CPA firm that I used to work for, they okayed this. He had it in the books as a loan. So it was he took a $605,000 loan over the course of about a decade and had not paid even a penny toward interest or principal over that. That's
what I'm talking about. That's a pretty good loan.
And there was no loan document either. So there was no legal document. There was no repayment of this loan.
That is a quality loan.
It was booked as a loan. So
what company was this? I would also like to take a loan out.
Right,
at this
exactly.
Point. That sounds pretty nice.
So he was hardcore about loyalty.
Of course he was.
And it was one of those things where I was going, okay, I'm making sure as the accountant for this company now, I'm making sure that the member managers of this LLC understand what's happening with you and this loan and that it's been and they like and just over the course of time they ended up like, yeah, we can't. Well, it was weird too. Just full disclosure on this whole thing. He was also in his 60s when I got hired by the company, and he was making like $150,000 a year from the company. And they were like, if we fire him, there's no way he can get another job. If he's not repaying it when he's making $150,000, if we fire him, there's no way he's going to be able to repay it as a Walmart greeter. So he had frauded himself into job security because they were like, the only way he can repay this loan to us is if we keep him on the payroll making what he's making right now. So
what a bunch of bleeding hearts you guys were.
But they knew about it. And the crazy thing was they didn't. The other weird thing, just in terms of intercompany dynamics, they wouldn't fire him about the loan because the managing members, like the managers of the LLC, the people who, because we have members, then you have managing members who are like kind of in charge. They were embarrassed that he was able to take all this money from the company.
They took it personal.
If they fired him, they'd be like, "Well, people are going to start asking questions if we fire him."
What?
And they didn't want to lose face in front of the other members.
What a weird concern.
It was the weirdest. Like the interpersonal and company dynamics involved in that whole thing were bizarre. But the baseline, this guy was hardcore. He was like, "Do you have my back?" And I was like, "I have to tell you I do, but at the same time, I got to make sure that I get this stuff out there because it was the right thing to do."
You had to rock the boat.
I had to rock the damn boat.
Hey, an accountant's role is to both be the waves, but help the boat make it through the storm. That's my inspirational quote for this. It felt terrible saying it.
Dude, that was...
It's like very good.
That was awesome.
Is that good?
Can you say it again?
The accountant's role is to not only create the waves, but help the boat make it through the storm.
That's really good.
Thanks, man.
That's quality. You guys...
If this sounds really cheesy to you, take 5 shots of absinthe.
We're only 4 in.
Are we? How many have we done?
We're only 4 in.
No. Please.
Okay, so this is why it's
Foreign.
good that we have notes, because my brain is not working well anymore. People can use loyalty to coerce other people into colluding with them in their unethical behavior.
Which is what it felt like that guy was trying to do clearly, right? Because he was like, do you have my back?
Yeah.
To the degree of $605,000 is basically what he was asking.
Exactly. And
right?
I was like, well, I'm not going to call for your resignation, but I might eventually. And I actually ended up doing that, which I'll tell you what, that was an action that I took because this guy hired me. And finally I got to the point, and it wasn't just his loan. His loan was part of it, but he also was just massively overspending our budget every year at the company.
Shoot.
And I'm the CPA.
This was the CEO?
This was basically.
Dude,
he was
that's your main
CEO.
job, bro.
Yeah.
Overspend, no thank you.
And he was way overspending. And I was like, dude, last year we overspent by $165,000, plus you spent $400,000 on a capital improvement project at our company. So between both of those, we don't have the money to do this. Tell me how. Let's start working at ways where we can rein in the spending. He didn't want to hear any of my ideas of how we could rein in the spending.
He hired you, which meant when he interviewed you, I mean, you mentioned that you're not necessarily a very loyal person, but he saw something in you that was like, this guy will lie for me. That's what that means, Craig.
Right.
Something in your interview told him.
Right. So this is
5?
This is the first time I've been like, oh, please, dear God, not another one.
This is same. This is the only time that I'm like, I'm going to hurt myself. By the end of this
so that
one.
was shot 5. That was all absinthe. We did, like we said, we both did just absinthe. We have Jägermeister. If we need to back it down, here's the thing: absinthe is the liquor that poets drink. Poets and artists drink absinthe. Frat boys who have flunked out of poetry and art school, they drink Jägermeister.
Yeah.
So those are the two
Your
options.
summer sales bros. That is true. We've got, and the virtue between the two of these would be Sparkle Donkey. I still miss it.
I do. That was the best. If we do more of these and we do get a sponsor, if it's Sparkle Donkey, that will make me it's never going to happen.
It was so great.
I'm just saying that's the best.
I'd sleep at all the public parks if I could just be drunk on Sparkle Donkey for it.
Okay, here's another thing. We got to keep going. We got to keep tackling this content.
Trains are moving. Woo woo. Let's do this.
So people can use loyalty to coerce other people into joining them in their unethical behavior.
Frequently they do.
But also, if we both do something unethical together, that can create loyalty between us.
Yeah.
Because let's say we rob a bank.
Let's do it.
And we murder the third guy in our team who
I have
helped us.
hesitancies about that part.
It's just a thought experiment.
Sure.
If we do that, you and me are going to be pretty loyal to each other.
Yeah.
Because if either of us narcs either of us out, we both go to jail forever.
I've seen Goodfellas. I know how it works.
Yeah, there you go. So here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Loyalty is seen as a virtue.
Sure.
But loyalty can easily either be the result of unethical behavior or it can be the cause of unethical behavior. So ask yourself this: is loyalty really a virtue?
It feels like we're in the same spot. It's the right amount of it. Because too far along the spectrum. And what's the extreme of loyalty?
I'm trying to get all like preachy, and you're like, actually, we already answered this question at shot 3.
Yeah, we've been there.
So an interesting interview that I heard. This was a long time ago on a podcast that no longer exists. Called.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. It was with a dude named Chris Marquette, who was the host of the podcast.
Marquette.
Interesting fact about Chris Marquette.
The Market of Marquette Ideas is the name of the podcast.
He didn't understand that he was on the mic even when he wasn't talking. And he had all these weird he'd do that all the time when he wasn't speaking.
That's funny.
It was very distracting. Anyways,
I don't know what I do when I get drunk, but I'm sure that there's something I do that fills the time. You use a lot more conjunctions than are needed. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It's a lot of and, or, and it's very exciting to me.
You just made me very self-conscious.
No, don't be. It's endearing.
Chris Marquette.
Yeah.
It was called Fraud Talk. That just came back to me.
The Marketplace of Marquette Ideas. Use that in the future, Chris Marquette.
he had a guest on his show who he interviewed.
'Kay.
This guest was the district attorney of Northern California.
Okay.
Who part of his job was investigating white-collar crime, embezzlement, those sorts of things.
Oh, Northern California, like San Francisco? Is that what we're talking about?
I think San Francisco to Redding is where we're talking about.
That's close to where I'm from. So now I'm excited.
Wait, where are you from?
I'm from Medford, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So Southern Oregon, but the great
Northern
state of Jefferson. Shout out to everybody who lives there.
Awesome. So you're
Yes.
like, I'm from California, I'm from Northern California, by which I mean Southern
No,
Oregon.
it is state of Jefferson. People listening will know.
I don't know what that means. So,
'Kay.
So here's the thing. His this district attorney,
Yes.
legit, he was like, one of the best things you can do for your company is make sure that everyone in the accounting department just hates each other.
Oh, whoa.
He's like team building, forget team building. You need to make animosity building. You need to make these you need to instill just vile hatred among your team, because
You watched Hunger Games? Use that as the jumping off point for your next company activity for this specific division.
Because his idea was, if these people if they hate each other, they don't trust each other. If they hate each other, they're not loyal to each other. And if they're not loyal to each other, they're going to narc each other out
Yeah,
if they're
then they're
doing
like,
some bad shit.
Greg, where'd that 5 cents go, Greg? It was 5 cents to you, but it's ethical behavior to me. Where'd that 5 cents go,
And
Greg?
there's no materiality threshold for fraud.
That's
I had to
fun.
throw that in. That was
Oh.
for the accountants know what I'm talking
Dude,
about.
I love that being drunk doesn't ruin you of business jargon. That's a fun side effect.
So I think that was the end of my story about the DA from Northern California. Here's the how much. I don't even know how much time this is
We're
how
at
bad
5.
This is
shots.
5 shots. So we're about 40 minutes in. I'm gonna say we've got one in completely other topic. We got another topic we need to get into. We're not even done with loyalty yet. But here,
Humans have been trying to create time travel for centuries, and yet alcohol exists. And I want to say absinthe.
Absinthe.
According to that timer that I just saw, it's been like 2 minutes since our last shot, 5 minutes since our last shot. And it has been 10,000 years since our last shot.
That's
in my
right.
brain. Time travel exists already, and it
does.
is named absinthe.
It does. I am so sorry, Kylie, that you had to see me like this. Here's the solution to the loyal.
Solve my problems, Greg.
The solution to the problem of the loyalty conundrum is this. It's transparency again. We've talked about transparency before.
Did.
Transparency is the solution to the loyalty conundrum.
Get invisible.
Here is why. Get visible. Here's why.
Yeah.
You can come in. So if I'm in this interview, I say, listen, interviewer, I am fiercely loyal, but I am also fiercely ethical.
Oh.
And I demand both of those in return from the company that I work for. That's
Sasha
right?
Fierce.
How
I
would
love
you?
it.
No, but seriously, as an HR guy, how would you feel if somebody came in hot like that to an interview?
If someone used the word fierce that many times, I would be terrified for my life.
Would
I
you?
would be like, there's a little too much going on. At this
Okay.
point.
but here's the thing. I'm going to say this.
The hardest thing to find in an interview is someone who's just a normal functioning human being. As weird as that might sound,
Really?
honestly, that's the majority of interviewing. It's just like, can you just hold a basic conversation without like my those vibes going off? And that's most HR.
You're
interviewing.
normal. You're hired.
That's so much of it.
Wow. That's good.
We're gonna do.
We haven't even poured.
We
next.
haven't.
Are
We're
you
gonna
doing
do
absinthe again? Or are you doing Jaeger?
Yeah, I'll keep with absinthe.
Okay,
we're gonna
me
do
too.
an HR podcast at some time, and it's gonna be super fun
drunk
as well.
HR. That would be such a fun. I'm gonna cheers you with this one just because that's how gone
it's fun.
I am.
It's green. I like it.
It's a weird green. That's 6.
It's the only alcohol that tastes worse.
Right. The other
Each
ones that
time.
we've had, we've been like, oh, this gets easier to drink the further you get.
It feels like it's mad at me. It feels like it's like, how did I not kill this guy already? And it's actively trying to more with each shot.
Right. Well, do you know who's? I believe that Vincent Van Gogh is associated closely with the absinthe spirit.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and
I'm gonna go paint some shit after this.
Well, I'm just saying things didn't go good with Vincent Van Gogh. So
That's
loyalty. If loyalty requires reciprocal loyalty, does that make sense?
RECPIO. How do you spell reciprocal?
It's right here.
RECIPROCAL. That's what it means to me.
That's right.
REC. I can't do this
because
twice.
if you're not loyal to me,
Reciprocal just a little bit.
If you're not loyal to me,
You know I am.
If you, but I know you are. But let's say
Don't
again,
question it.
thought experiment.
Use a different person.
Okay.
Don't use your daughter.
If
You
Frank,
pointed at your daughter and
listen,
abandoned
if
it.
Zach Frank is not loyal, Zach
Oh.
Frank, the producer of the show,
I hope he's not. He's going to edit this to make us sound like such two idiots, and I love that. I hope you're not loyal to us.
if he's not loyal to me, I don't have. Then that frees me from my responsibility to be loyal to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
If you stab me in the back, then it's
I'll stab you in the front.
It's exactly. That's how loyalty works.
Jesus
right?
Christ, this
But
started off
listen,
as a fun thought
but so
experiment. I
listen,
turned it
no,
into a
stop.
real threat. I'm so sorry,
We
Zach.
got to cover the content.
Please do.
Despite the absinthe, with can you?
The absinthe of content.
Does your mouth feel tingly?
Oh, so tingly.
Good. Okay, I just want to make sure it was both
My
of us.
tongue is dancing on its own.
So
and
if
it's
you,
the salsa.
But listen, so if you're not loyal to me, then I don't have to be loyal to you.
But we are loyal to each other.
Okay, if Zach's not loyal to me, I don't have to be loyal to
Back
Zach.
to Zach.
And if Zach's unethical, I can make a contract, a social contract with Zach
Aristotle,
that says
shout out, bro.
if you want me to be unethical,
Yeah.
if you're unethical, that breaks the only way you're loyal to me is if you're ethical. You got to be ethical, otherwise you're breaking my loyalty.
You've got to be ethical, or you're breaking my loyalty.
I'm loyal to you, and if you're unethical, you're not being loyal to me by your fucking unethicality.
I encourage every accountant to do what Greg just did and try to, at least virtually, but ideally physically, poke your coworkers in the chest and say, if you're not loyal to me, then I'm not, but only with ethicality. And I think it'll go over great.
It'll go good.
And you'll definitely not be fired.
If you listen,
My
this is
HR
what
experience says that you won't be brought into HR in the slightest.
This is what I have written on the paper. Is like if
Yeah.
this is the scene in the movie that's really good. It's
What
like,
guidance did Sober Greg give us?
Speak it. Right, because Sober Greg wrote the notes. If you ever expect me to be unethical, you're breaking your loyalty to me, and if you break your loyalty to me, I will burn your house to the ground.
Oh my
But then I struck that through.
Oh, that's fair.
So the burn your house to the ground and said, then I will break my loyalty to you.
Feels very Batman-like. If you expect me to be unethical, you are breaking your loyalty to me. And if you break your loyalty to me, I will burn your house to the ground. Break my loyalty to you. I will avenge my parents.
So,
I will do it.
I'm sweating.
Are you?
Absinthe makes me sweat. So, I think that's the end of our topic. According to my cheat sheet,
This isn't the end. This is the beginning of ethics. This is a path that we've all gone down, and we've all walked down this path of ethics. Within 4 simple podcasts, you went from a horrible human being to the wonderful ethical person that you are today. Isn't that wonderful? Think about it. You binged all these in 4 hours. And 4 hours ago, if we would have asked you, do you want to steal from your company, you would have been like, that was my primary goal. But now look at you. You're so grown up. You're so much ethical. You're a fucking narc. I'll give it, that's for sure. We're
so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you,
so proud
accountants. Hey, go count something, but count something for yourself. You know, don't use basic math for someone else. Do it for you. You know.
And your job is to create the waves and also to help that boat get through the storm. Now, here's the next thing we need to talk about.
On the lake of business. Go ahead.
So
what are you going to say?
Here, the other thing, people didn't understand this from the title of this episode.
Yeah.
Because the title was, it had something to do with, it was
we said something
loyalty.
About Jaeger,
it was
and
loyalty.
We were unethical because we have drinking no Jaeger.
We haven't. Well, let's do that for... we already poured our 7th shot. Are we 6 shots in? But we've already poured our.
Just
you already
a dash.
No, not yet. No,
just
don't,
a dash
no,
of
I
Jaeger.
will not allow you to put a little bit of Jaeger in your absinthe. So the title of this podcast is
I am
Loyalty.
loyal to no man. I will do it.
No, I can't. I'm loyal to you, and I will not let you do that.
Bummer.
The title of this episode is Loyalty Stories, Jägermeister and Absinthe. And probably people are like, going, what the fuck does stories have to do with ethics? Let me tell you what stories have to do with that. First off, you're an MBA, I'm an MBA, correct?
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah.
And what's up, MBA?
MBA for life. So when we took our MBA, and even before that, we'd all known about mission vision, and values.
Yes.
Right? Those are like big time. Plus, we're from Utah.
That's
we're from the
true.
land of Stephen Covey, which for some reason
Oh,
I
my
feel
goodness.
like, ugh. That's all Stephen Covey.
He's the cloud that surrounds whole business here in Utah,
Yeah.
which is great. He's great. I love him.
Yeah, he is. He's cool.
I love his principles.
But here's the thing. What do you think specifically? Do you think those ideas are just business bullshit, or do you think that they're legit important?
When it comes to core values in a company, you're saying?
Yeah.
I think it depends on the company for sure, because there's some companies live by it. I was fired once by a company that said that they are family. Let's be honest, I would never fire my family. I would just find a different place for them.
They were so unloyal to you.
They were very disloyal.
And
they were
when
disloyal. They actively fired me for terrible reasons, which I cannot talk about because
your NDA.
That's maybe too much, actually.
Yeah,
Let's go on. Let's move on.
Don't Google Adam Proud now to see what company. Don't look at his LinkedIn.
Oh, that's true. I didn't specify which company, so I think I'm safe.
Okay, good. So,
are they legit or are they? Yeah, it depends on the company,
are they legit?
right? Oh my God! Please,
yeah,
Kylie.
we both hate everything.
Terrible daughter making us do this.
I think it was a lapse in my judgment to think Absinthe was the right idea.
You know that
for
moment in Harry Potter where Voldemort or Dumbledore is like, "No, don't make me drink it, Harry," and Harry keeps feeding him the water. Do you know that part, Kylie? Bummer, because you're Harry in that situation.
That's not a scene from the movie.
It is. It's number 6. No.
Okay.
7,
So
6.
So you think it depends on the company.
Yes, depends on the company, depends on the values. Some of them are absolute bullshit.
Okay, and here's my thing. Here's my 100% take on core values. Because forget mission, forget vision. Let's talk about core values.
Get out of here, mission, vision.
They can be legit.
Sure.
But here's the only way that if you say your company has core values, the only way those core values are legit if you've got a story where you sacrifice something, where you risked and sacrifice something to maintain that core value.
Sure.
If you don't have that story, then that's not a core value.
Yeah. If your core value is family, but then you fired anybody who's around, then who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares about that? You got to have an example that shows that you're family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Show me how you lost some money.
Yeah.
To maintain your core value.
Show me how you invited me to Thanksgiving and I made a mess of it, and yet you invited me back the next year. And then family is your core value.
That's exactly right. I love this guy.
Yeah, dude.
Can I tell you, listener, this guy he's been...
And I love Thanksgiving.
He's
mashed
been
potatoes.
We do a lot of comedy together. This guy, he's been I was lucky. I'm lucky that I found you, man. Okay, so
I think it is a mild hallucinogenic.
Are you seeing?
I'm not seeing anything yet, but I feel suspicious.
I know. Well, my daughter's neck is turning into a snake. That's okay. That's how she was born. I don't know if you remember that. So when they were pulling you out C-section, your neck was disturbingly long then too.
Donate to Snake Neck. We need to find a cure for Snake Neck in this country. Mm-hmm. Donate. Mm-hmm. Donate today.
Donate today. So there's an HBR article. It may or may not be in the show notes for this podcast because I don't know if there are show notes for this podcast. There's an HBR article where some guy who I guess is an HBR guy talks about talks about values.
Yes.
And he says there's different kinds of values.
Yes.
There's core values.
Sure.
There's aspirational values.
Okay.
And there's permission to play values. Let me explain.
The hell does that mean?
Core values.
They're in your core. They're right in your gut. They're in your abdomen. You can feel them. They're necessary for a company. Let's move on. What's the next one?
Right. And they guide all of a company's actions. That's a core value.
Aspirational. You want to be it. You're not there yet, but you're working towards it. You can do it, buddy. We love you and accept you for who you are, but we prefer the person you could be.
Yeah. I wish this was a value.
Yeah.
That's an aspiration value. Now, permission to play value, that's an interesting one. Permission to play value, that's one of the things. It's like, this is the minimum standard behavior, minimum standard of behavior and social interaction that you have to maintain for us not to fire your ass.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's very
But that's
fun.
also a value because it's like,
sure.
if you pull your pants
but a
down,
bare minimum.
If you pull your pants down in the break room,
I would not. Gotcha.
So that's permission to play values. So,
sure.
But that was just fun to talk about.
Permission to play. That's actually very fun. I like that because that could be someone like you interviewing and being like, I'm not a very loyal person. And I'd be like, to what degree as an accountant? And you're like, I'm going to sell your ass down a river if you do any sort of fraudulent activity. And I'm like, well, that's exactly what I want in an accountant. bring it in.
Bring it
and
in.
you'd be like, a core value of mine is to not have too much physical touch with my employer because that creates awkward circumstances. And I'd be like, you passed round 2, so let's hire you.
Right
That's
on.
what I would do.
So I passed your core value and your permission to play value.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You can play, bro.
All values are aspirational values unless you have a story to back them up. A story where you forgoed, you forwent
Yeah.
money
Oh.
to maintain that value. That's a core value for your
Dollar
company.
bills, y'all.
Now, here's the thing.
Yes.
With CPAs and CPA firms,
CPA.
they always are like, a core value of ours is that we will uphold the highest level of ethics and integrity in the job that we do. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
That's true. And really most companies will have some kind of like lip service to ethics. In their shit.
That makes sense. I feel like that's most MBA programs where they're like, hey, we're super ethical. Part of that feels suspicious where it's like, you wouldn't have to specify how ethical you are constantly if people didn't suspect you of not being ethical, which feels like maybe there's some weirdness there.
Yeah,
but,
kind of a thou doth
but I guess,
protest too much.
Oh, great. But I guess that is the case for accountants, because the thing that I don't envy from you guys is that, man, do you guys have so much of a burden upon you? Because you're the final checkpoint, right? So you got to be ethical more than anybody else because you got to check everybody else's work. Kudos to you guys. I'll be honest, I have never respected an accountant in my life besides Greg. And I still don't respect him because of his accounting abilities. But now, what this podcast has taught me, this is what it has taught me, is I met a lot of people in my MBA who would ask questions, and I would be like, oh my gosh, someone's going to work for you eventually? What a terrible person you are.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to pray nightly, if I did that, that the accountants would double check their work, because you guys are sincerely the last check towards ethical behavior for so many CEOs, who 12% of which are psychopaths and the extra 88% are just hiding their tendencies well. So go out there and be ethical. Ethic it up, man.
And
do one ethic today.
And that was what felt like should have been the end of the podcast.
Keep going. I don't care.
That was Adam going on a. It felt
like I was preparing people for battle. Men, there are unethical people on our front line. There are men who will look into the whites of your eyes, and will they place their budgets on the wrong line? They will.
And if you find yourself riding through fields of wheat, you have found yourself in Valhalla.
Will they look at their goods, and will they falsify the records thereof of the cost? They shall, based on a handshake and a deal, but will you keep them from it? Yes, you shall. Go forth and be ethical.
So here's the thing.
Yeah,
if you don't have a story,
earth,
so basically what I'm going for is this.
I'm so far out of it, so much farther out of it than
your
I've
wife
been on
is
any single episode of this.
Your wife is going to be so mad at me today.
ate an old biscuit for nothing before this podcast.
No,
which
think of where you've
nothing
been.
to the listener, but everything to you.
He ate a biscuit to make sure there was some carbs in his tummy before he drank all this booze.
Ugh.
And just think where you'd be if it weren't for that biscuit, which was homemade. I made that myself. So you're welcome. That was made with love. Now, so we got to wrap this up because we are not in a good position right now. If you think you have a core value and you can't back it up with a story, it's not a core value. But don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed.
Don't
despair.
No way.
Because there are ways for you to create stories to back up these things that are aspirational, to turn an aspirational value into a core value.
Yeah,
here's the
there's
thing.
a way.
I'm going to just list a few of them. First off,
Number one.
If ethics is a core value of yours, fire a client that you think has bad ethics, that you think is
Get them out of here.
If they're sketchy, why are you doing business with them?
Yeah.
Get rid of them. And then
essential oils, get it out of here.
And they're like,
sketchy.
My company that I work for, the CPA firm, they knew we were sketchy as shit.
Whoa.
They knew that my boss was doing the shit that he was doing.
Oh, not the one you currently work for, the previous one.
Well, it's the company I work for, but it was the old boss. I'm the boss now.
Oh, nice.
Is what happened.
Hell yeah, and you're ethical as shit. You do a whole podcast
and I'm
about
disloyal as because I got rid of him. But that's the thing.
Greg.
I needed to rock the boat. I've got one shot of Jägermeister that I
to
have
keep
to
us
do
to keep
on
us ethical.
principle because of the no. You don't get no. I'm okay. You're grown. Oh no! He drank it out of the bottle.
Who's ethical now?
He's grown. We're done.
That
We're
is
done. Take
worse.
this away, Kylie. Your job now is to take all of this away, because that's how we're being ethical. Sit down, Adam. Sit down. I just unplugged you.
I turn into a nymph when I get drunk. I start like tiptoeing everywhere.
Yeah,
and holding my
you're
hands
fun
like
when you're
Mr.
drunk. Now,
Tumnus.
listen. So fire a sketchy client. If my CPA firm
Get him out of here.
If they fire my client and then they told everybody, "Hey, why'd we get rid of that $100,000 a year client?" And they said because we thought they were sketchy, that would have been a great way for them to create a culture of ethics and how to back up their core value that ethics are important to me. Here's another one.
Back it up now.
If you have a vendor, if
Yes.
you're in industry, if you're a CPA in industry,
You got a vendor. Imagine it.
you've got a vendor who's like a brother
Yes.
or a sister
Oh, yeah.
or a dad.
Someone
a close,
you kiss on the cheek and it's not awkward.
A closely
but never on
rela-
the mouth because that's incest.
we need to fire them
Get them out of here.
because that's a way where fraud can happen. And then they're like, why'd you fire your dad? And then you go, because listen, that's how important ethics are to us as a company. I fired my mother. You just created a story.
Also, make your accountants hate you as a person, and then you can keep your dad on the payroll, and you could just make people hate you. That's another option we learned earlier, I think.
Disregard what he just said. He gets drunker than I do.
It's
the
true.
other one, listen,
So
the
much
last
drunker.
one, I feel like that sort of relates to something we talked about
I feel
earlier.
like I could bench press you right now. That's where my confidence level is at. If I held you in my arms like a baby, I could lift you and bench press you.
The third way to create a story
weird?
is this. Listen, is if you work at a CPA firm,
Which you likely do.
don't require your staff to work to do 60 billable hours.
No one needs that in
one
life.
week.
No.
What are you doing?
Stop it.
Because do you remember when we talked about ego depletion, Adam
I remember
Brown?
everything about that.
Yeah, because if you cause them, if you make somebody do 60 billable hours a week,
They got to make so many decisions, and at the end of it, they're going to be questioning themselves so much, or they're just going to be passing it off and being like, if I care.
yeah, and they're not going to have the self-control to make ethical decisions if you're working them that. And then if people are like, why did you reduce the number of required billable hours per week during busy season?
Because I'm ethical.
That's right. And then guess what? You just created a story.
Story because I'm ethical.
You just forwent money for ethics.
Because I'm ethical.
That's how you create a core value. Am I too aggressive when I'm drunk?
I think it's balanced out by my R&B speak over. Which, let's be honest, oh my God, we went full loop. The virtue of all things is found in the center, and so when you've got me doing R&B lyrics over the top of Greg's aggressive finger pointing
story.
This is where the virtue is found, and the virtue is found in ethics. What an interesting path that accountants have to lead. This is the new ending. That accountants have to lead in that they have to be, well, in some ways, potentially the most ethical person, because corporations are supposed to. Here's the only thing that keeps capitalism alive is capitalism don't give a fuck about what people are doing. But the ethics of accountants will allow them to be able to compete in a world that is trying to find profits without exposing them to unethical treatment, I think, or either their employees or their practices or whatever it is. Man, it is so hard to make a point when you're so drunk that you drink Jägermeister out of the bottle.
You made it. Listen,
Thanks, man.
Accountants?
I do have a newfound respect for accountants. Every accountant that I meet, I'm going to be like, dude, I know that you have the responsibility to be a narc in your real life, and I respect it.
And that sucks.
And it's great, and that's really hard, and I'm glad that I can meet you outside of your business, and I'm never going to do business with you because I don't want to be one more stressor on your life. That's what I'm going to say.
I don't know if that ended exactly how I wanted it to, but it was pretty damn close. Guys,
I don't know, but I feel like dancing.
Yeah, well, you always do when you're drunk because
I do.
You're a dancing drunk. There's
It's
angry
so
drunks.
strange.
There's angry drunks. There's sad drunks. And there's dancing drunks. And you're a dancing drunk. Everybody, I'm Greg Kite. Thank you so much for being here for this.
He is Greg Kite, and though I'm loyal to him, I will say he's Greg Kite. But if he steps a toe out of unethical behavior, I'll stop him.
And I'm loyal to Adam Browd. He's the co-host
And we're loyal
of this
to you, but
podcast
not
of
as much because you're faceless.
Drunk Ethics.
Seven shots!
Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody is going to know. Not a goddamn person is going to know whether you did the right thing or whether you did not do the right thing.
A life lived with integrity, even if it lacks the trappings of fame and fortune, is a shining star in whose light others may follow in the years to come.
Nobody knows that you did the right thing,
Greg, where was you?
but you still did it. You're a good person.